What?
What's up? Welcome to the low ceiling.
Welcome to the low ceiling.
I'm John.
You are John, and you're looking great.
Thanks, babe.
You're doing good at it.
I'm wearing sunscreen.
That's why.
That's why.
Yeah.
This is a pro tip for all the Johns out there.
Is this the solemn thing you wanted to start with? You wanted to start with something serious.
I did. Okay. We're talking Frankenstein today. Mary Shelley's
Frankenstein, a 1994 Kenneth Branagh.
Oh, can he be? Can he be joint? With some shocking big names that I didn't even know that existed.
You've already heard the biggest mistake that this film has made. I like no offense to Kenneth Branagh.
That is my solemn start.
But
Kenneth Branagh.
That is he might have been trouble.
Yeah, dude. Oh my God. Okay, so this book, this Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, is what, 200 years old?
I've never heard of it. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
I don't know. Is it like the Bible or what?
1850s?
1818.
1818.
Yeah. So when she wrote it, I read this like really cool fact out about these people that she's hanging out with. So
yes, they're kind of a big deal.
They're kind of a big deal. Oh my God. Yeah. So Mary herself.
Take an English class.
Listen, we both know I can't read, so this is a great feat for me. Mary, her husband, Percy Shelley.
Percy Bysshe.
John Polidori, who is the creator of the fucking vampire genre of fanfic itself. He wrote the book The Vampire.
Really?
Back in the day.
Because he's definitely the... I can't think of someone else in U2 who's not Bono or The Edge. And so he's definitely the...
he's definitely the Bono.
He's definitely the like fucking... I don't know what... I don't even know.
He's like the rock star of the group.
He's like the Ringo Starr of that group though, because the other person is Byron.
Yes, the fourth correct. And the fourth person is Lord Byron, who obviously famous Brit poet boy, wrote Don Juan among other things. Yeah. So between the four of them, Mary, her husband Perry, John the vampire,
Percy, not Perry,
and Percy.
Percy, not Perry.
Looking at it, and I can't read it. Yeah. And Byron. The four of them had a competition to see who would write the best horror.
This is the legend. Yeah.
And Mary Shelley was like, "I have a whole horrific life to base my shit on," and that's what I wanted to talk about.
So can I just say, as we all know, I've got a pretty amazing English degree. I've never read Frankenstein.
Me neither.
And I don't know much about her.
Okay.
I know a little bit about Byron and Shelley, but like the most minimal amount. All I know about Percy Bysshe Shelley is that he's probably one of the more interesting poets from that era. And I also know that like Byron was like this is what my professor told me when I was in Finland, who was this British guy. He was like, Byron, he was like the Ernest Hemingway, like manly man guy. Oh, but he actually never, he's a total fraud.
He was like a philanderer too. And just,
but he was like, he was like,
bad boy.
He had made this legend of himself fighting in a revolutionary war, but actually he died of a foot infection.
Yeah.
Something like that.
As it does happen through time.
But tell me about Mary Shelley.
Mary Shelley, man, what a fucking G, okay? And the more I read about her, the more I learn about her, the more I'm like, Frankenstein might be the saddest
19
damn
when
thing.
she wrote it too?
19
Something
when she wrote
crazy,
it.
Right?
Yeah. So they decide to have this competition, her and the lads, like, let's see who writes the best horror story. And so she goes away for a few days and she thinks about her life and she thinks about the loss of her own mother, who gave birth to her and then dies like 11 days later from an infection.
Oh, wow.
As all mothers do back in 1818. Most, not all. She thinks about her relationship with her dad. Not great. Her mother and her father, both like these incredible authors back in the day, very politically motivated, writing books about like women's rights. Her mother's side and then her dad's side, writing books about political upheavals. And then she thinks about the death of her own first child, Mary Shelley.
Damn, she had a kid before Frankenstein?
Wait, it gets worse.
Damn.
This death of the first child that she didn't even get to name. And then all of this is thought to have inspired the monster Frankenstein, and how his separation comes from parental guidance.
Interesting.
She didn't even put her name on the first book when she wrote the Frankenstein.
Yeah.
It was all published anonymously.
Yeah.
But it wasn't not just out of like concern that she might lose custody of her second kid, because in 1818 you write a freaky thing like this and you lose your first baby.
You were like barely allowed to write as a woman.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
And she's out here like saying and doing. And so because of that, she didn't give the monster a name either.
No.
So no name for her baby. No name credit to herself on the book. Mm-hmm. It's published anonymously. No name to the monster. It's just Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah.
And then in the first kind of theatrical production of Frankenstein, 1823, like a few years later, the book is obviously huge. It makes it to the cinemas.
No. Because cinema wasn't invented.
Well, the theatrical cinemas, the real life cinemas.
Mean theater?
Theater,
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And so by that time, Mary Shelley's already given birth to like 4 kids.
Damn.
Buried 3 of them. And then lost another unnamed baby to a miscarriage. And all of this is so severe that she doesn't stop bleeding until her husband is like, you got to sit on this block of ice to like save yourself. Like gruesome, okay? And all through this, in the theaters, in production, the monster is listed on the playbill still as just blank. Mm-hmm. Just no name.
Yeah.
But then also like there's this really cool article by this New York Times writer. I should have read her name, but it's basically like, it's not like Mary Shelley even has a name of her own, kind of. It's Mary Shelley's just named after her mother Mary and her husband Shelley, and then slammed in there with her dad's name Goldwyn.
Can I also bring up another thing?
Yeah.
Didn't Percy Bysshe Shelley also die from drowning?
Oh my God.
Prematurely?
Oh my God.
Was it him or someone else? But I'm pretty sure he died at a young age.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, all of that is
I want to take a pause and look that up, because if so, that's such like a life of tragedy
for her.
Yeah.
It's scary and so sad to think that Frankenstein might be this woman's autobiography.
Yeah.
Percy's still living it? He's kicking it?
Oh no, he died when he was 30.
Oh, okay.
And he sailed on a new boat in a liberal of meeting age.
That's a pretty full life for 1818.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He died in 1822, and he died in a shipwreck.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Like, yeah. So he was 29, and he died in Italy in a shipwreck.
Yeah. Oh wow. 29. Got it.
So he was 29, and he died in 1822. So he would have been.
Oh my gosh.
It was 4 years after the publication of Frankenstein.
Fucking hell.
So a year before the first cinema adaptation.
The first stage cinema, where and she's just a husk basically, but then somehow pretty fucking strong and incredible.
She's like 25 at that point,
yeah,
being
Jesus.
like, boy, I've really lived. Yeah.
And then, as they do, critics, they don't fucking change through the time either. So Frankenstein was also kind of condescendingly supposed to be kind of an assembled piece of writing, an unnatural birth that some critics called it, because it's the story, much like the author, is also pieced together the writings of others.
It's an epistolary novel.
Fucking sick word. Yeah. So they kept like some mid-20th century critic called it like Godwin's daughter could not help philosophizing.
Also, like, how could a woman have written something so brilliant? So
it's either Godwin's daughter or like Shelley's wife. Greatly inspired by her husband's morbid fantasies.
I think they call that sexism. I think that's what that's called.
That's a fun little word for it.
Yeah, to be in short. But yeah, like it's like one of the most influential books, and I think it was even a big deal at the time.
Yeah. And so for this person, for Mary Shelley to like take her life, take all her miscarriages, her terrible life experiences, and put it into a book about child, kind of a child, or like an offspring unwanted.
Yeah, it's like an interesting symbolic relationship between her work and her life.
It's like the female Gothic.
It's a little bit like the Eat, Pray, Life of Eat, Pray, Live, Eat, Pray, Love.
Eat, Pray, Life.
What's the name of that fucking book? Eat, Pray, Eat, Pray, Frankenstein.
Eat, Pray,
Eat, Pray, Love of that era. Yeah.
And they take all this depth and they take all the pain and put it in the hands of Robert De Niro, and he says, Frankenstein.
Well, I mean, they put it in the hands of Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
So this movie, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, directed by Kenneth Branagh, written by, original draft was written by a writer, I believe, named Steph Lady and Frank Darabont. Does that name ring a bell to you? Well, it should, because he directed The Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, jeez.
And The Green Mile. And The Mist.
Fuck, power hitter. Damn.
Yeah, big 90s writer. Now, did you read the thing that Frank Darabont said about this film?
What did he say?
He said it's the best script I've ever written and the worst fucking film I've ever seen.
Because it does work in script. You can see how it works.
I downloaded his original draft.
Yeah.
And it is like, I didn't have time to read all of it, but I read like 10, 15 pages. Mm-hmm. It's incredible. Like it's so much. So it's the 90s, right? So it's so much more bombastic than a script you'd read today. It's very literary, and it's very like, but he is such a good writer. And then Branagh, uncredited, rewrote the script and then recut the film. Furthermore,
oh my God,
he makes a cut, and Francis Ford Coppola, producer because Coppola directed the incredible Bram Stoker's Dracula film, and then wanted to coast off the success of that, a movie where Keanu Reeves gives the worst English accent ever conceived by man, and Gary Oldman just fucks as a vampire.
Oh, hell yeah.
But so Coppola wanted to originally direct this, along with, there was a couple others too, and then Coppola greenlights this film. They get Branagh after, Tim Burton was considered, quite obviously. Yeah, and I want to get back to Tim Burton in a bit, too. And Coppola sees the first cut, and he insists that he's like, can I please recut the first 30 minutes?
Yeah. Please.
And Kenneth Branagh was like, no.
Shut up. He said no to Coppola.
And Francis Ford Coppola was like, I hate this movie.
Yeah, the sentiment is strong with the audience.
Yeah, dude.
Also, wow. I didn't know people could have like creative decisions to say no to Francis Ford Coppola.
Well,
you think that shit would fly now?
I think if you're Branagh, you've earned the right. Look, Branagh, I think is the problem with this movie, but it doesn't mean Branagh's a bad director or anything like that. But Branagh, I think at that point earned the right to have final cut. But like, also, like, I understand. So I remember reading an interview or listening to an interview with Paul Schrader. I think it was Paul Schrader, and when he was making The Card Counter, or Master Gardener, I'm not sure, but one of his more recent movies. Okay. And maybe I'm wrong. It might have been one of his, but it was a movie in the last decade or so, right? And Paul Schrader, we've talked about him before. He has an interesting reputation around Hollywood. He makes these small movies that are very kind of like different and literary, not very Hollywood. Yeah. And there was a movie that he made, and I'm totally blanking on what it was, where he was having trouble getting a cut for it. Mm-hmm. And his, director friends who just have other director friends. Apparently Steven Soderbergh watched a cut of it.
Oh, great.
And was like, I could give it a whirl. And Paul Schrader's response was, "Get the fuck out of my house."
Really?
Yeah. And he said to the interviewer, he was like, "Yeah, try asking Steven Soderbergh if one of you could cut his films." He would say no. Right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I understand Branagh's ownership over the project.
Sure.
Even when someone great like Coppola says, "Let me cut it." However, Coppola was correct, because the first 100%. 30, 40 minutes are so frustratingly bad.
Yeah.
And then the movie starts to coalesce into something actually quite good.
You know why the first 30, 40 minutes are bad? It's because it's full of Kenny Branagh.
Yeah.
So much screen time just for himself, a writer, actor, director.
Him, like, the whole growing up and the whole, background with him and Elizabeth and stuff is so boring and lame.
Yeah.
And it's not really until he decides to do the experiment that it starts to become a much better film.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that it's a movie that's like, oh yeah, this is a gothic horror movie. And then you start watching and you're like, fucking where? Where are you? What are you talking about? But then the last third of it is like true gothic horror.
100%.
And then that's the reason I wanted to do this, because I know not many people have seen this movie, and it's a pretty old movie, but it's like truly you start to be like, oh, I see the potential in this film, and I see what Frank Darabont wrote, and I see what Branagh kind of like saw but ruined a little bit in a way.
Yeah.
And it's really frustrating because there's such a good film in there. And to bring it back to today, there's a release, not a release date set yet, but there's a Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein film.
That's right.
That's meant to be released on Netflix this year.
Amazing.
Starring Oscar Isaac as Victor Frankenstein.
Fuck
and
yeah.
who plays the creature? Do you know?
No.
Jacob Elordi.
Oh man.
The hottest man in the world. Yeah.
Let's make him stupid and ugly.
I mean, but he's also 7 feet tall, so that helps.
Yeah.
Jacob Elordi plays the creature.
Mm-hmm.
And Guillermo del Toro had always had a huge hard-on for Frank Darabont's script.
Same
and
script.
He'd always wanted to write that script.
Amazing.
He can't make a film from that script.
Okay.
But during, I believe in the 90s, he had always wanted to use that script because it has a reputation as being pretty brilliant, you know.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
Yeah, man.
And there's another like Bride of Frankenstein coming
Maggie
through.
Gyllenhaal, I believe, is making
Christian
Bride of
Bale
Frankenstein.
is going to be.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
There was Lisa Frankenstein, which I was trying to urge us to do on the pod. Which we will one day. I think
one day
we'll do.
Yeah. Maybe even closer to the Christian Bale one. We'll do the Lisa Frankenstein because Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah,
Lisa Frankenstein. It's all part of the process, guys. Stay tuned for the Frankenstein cinematic universe.
There's so much Frankensteinian.
FCU, baby. We're here for it.
This movie is frustratingly poor in lots of ways, but also, to me, there's like this light that shines through where I'm like, this could have been such a great film. And my hope is that someone like Del Toro or Gyllenhaal in their hands could make a brilliant movie. And I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the end of the pod. Bye.
Look, you'd think this movie could have been better if Kenny Branagh was like, I'm going to get an actor for this. A different person who is not me.
There was a long list of people like to be the creature and to play him, and then he just ended up going with himself. And then Robert De Niro I actually think is quite good in this.
Yeah.
But what a fucking weird choice to play the creature. But then again, so like I read somewhere that it was like Andy Garcia was, and I was like, why? Because Coppola cast him in the worst Godfather and was like, oh, Garcia can do anything. But it's like Andy Garcia playing the fucking creature. Are you kidding me?
It kind of reminds me of, fuck man, it's sorry to say his name again, but Louis C.K.'s bit where he talks about Good Will Hunting, and he's like, yeah, of course Matt Damon fucking made himself the smartest guy. He's like, oh, I'm actually super intelligent and I'm a fucking genius.
Yeah.
It feels like Kenneth Branagh did the same thing here where he's just like, I'm actually super handsome. I'm going to be shirtless for 30 minutes.
Kenneth Branagh was definitely proud of his body. And
he
should be.
I mean, great body.
But when he's actually doing the experiment, I don't think you should do like 17th century surgery with your shirt off.
Don't be
around a bunch of electronics and stuff.
Yeah.
But he was definitely like, I'm going to do this whole thing shirtless. And it's like, yeah, we get it. You're cut. But like, what are you doing?
But do the same to your cinema and cut it.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I want to talk a little bit about Tim Burton very tertiarily.
Yeah. How did that come about?
Do you want to hear a weird sliding doors thing that happened on this movie?
Tell me.
Okay. Tim Burton and Helena Bonham Carter.
Mm-hmm.
Are they married still? They were definitely married.
Probably. Yeah.
They were definitely married. I know that they had 2 houses next door to each other with a tunnel adjoining them, which is pretty sick. And that's a pretty cool way to live.
Nice.
Tim Burton and Helena Bonham Carter end up getting married in late 90s. Mm-hmm. Tim Burton was not originally, but one of the people maybe potentially who would have done this film, which is a great choice, especially in the early 90s.
Oh,
yes, we might have been robbed of like Edward Scissorhands, which is I really like, but yeah, Tim Burton seems like the obvious choice for this film. However, Kenneth Branagh is, chosen to come in. Kenneth Branagh is married to Emma Thompson at the time.
Oh, wow.
And Kenneth Branagh is like, Emma, I want you to play Elizabeth. And Emma Thompson was like, I'm sorry, I have another role on another film. I have to be in that film.
Okay.
Kenneth Branagh casts Helena Bonham Carter.
Okay.
After this movie, he divorces Emma Thompson and marries Helena Bonham Carter.
Shut the fuck up. No.
And all of this time, I'm pretty sure Tim Burton was watching this movie, and as soon as she turned into the Bride of Frankenstein, I was like, I have a huge boner for that woman.
Wow,
Yeah.
dude. He takes all his acting cues from Emma Thompson, does the same type of Emma Thompson acting, and then
The
he
weird
lets her
fucking
go.
the weird sliding doors thing of this is like, not that, they might have never met, but the fact that Branagh was originally going to cast his wife and then ends up having an affair with a woman who becomes his wife, who he then divorces for a person who may have directed the film anyway.
Incredible. The butterfly effect in full force.
It was really fascinating. And not to make light of the infidelity that I had read about happening on the set of this film, but they're doing all right.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's so strange because again, not to impugn too much on Branagh, but when you're like Frankenstein, you're in the 90s, Tim Burton seems like the perfect fucking person.
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
I know. As soon as I saw that it was a Kenneth Branagh joint, I was like, I don't understand this choice.
You know what?
And then I watched the movie and I was still like, I don't understand why.
I think that Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula is like a fucking amazing movie.
Yeah, undisputed.
I think it's one of the great movies of the 90s. I think it's really kind of underrated. I don't care that Keanu Reeves is objectively bad in it.
You can't take your eyes off it for a moment. There's no dull moment.
It's one of the most like stylishly effective and just as much as Keanu Reeves sucks, Anthony Hopkins is incredible. Gary Oldman is ridiculously over the top. And when you think of Coppola, like I'm not like, oh yeah, Coppola's perfect for this gothic horror film. And then when you think of Branagh, you're just kind of like, I can't believe he made a movie where Robert De Niro rips out Helena Bonham Carter's heart. Yeah. And I don't know, like
that shit
works though,
it
right? It really works. And it seems like it works in spite of Branagh's stylistic choices.
Yeah. But
it's so fascinating. Yeah.
The movie, just like the book, is not meant to be just a horror, just a gothic horror, because so much of it is inspired from like the Romanticism era, right?
Well, what Darabont said eventually was that he was like, he said in this quote, and I wrote it down, but I'll paraphrase, but he was like, he said that if you like the movie, you can thank Branagh for it. And if you hate it, you can also blame him. It's totally his vision. Mm-hmm. But he took all of the, like, I think someone said that like Kenneth Branagh's ego just ripped all of the subtlety out of the material.
Hard agree.
And that the original Frankenstein, the book and the screenplay are all about that philosophical subtlety. Yeah. And what we talked about a lot, which Francis Ford Coppola noted, was that the editing is so insane in this film.
Yeah.
And part of it is because it's like, it's edited so quickly for a movie that should have a lot quieter and longer moments. And then it's edited like a fucking, like a Michael Bay horror film.
Please do not besmirch the good word of Bayman. Like, you and I were even talking about it while watching it. Like, wait, what the? Something else was happening, and now I blinked once, and something altogether different is happening.
There's certain areas where it cuts at the strangest moments, and
they're
jarring.
Like mid-sentence, snip.
Yeah,
go on. Wait, what monkey? Anyway, I think the thing with when a director puts himself in front of the screen too, it's so much easier to blame it on ego, where it's like, you just want more screen time for yourself, and that might not be the case, right? Because it's like true to the book and it's true to the script, and so he's doing everything based on what he read the raw material to be.
Branagh also got in, like, he uncredited rewrote the script too, right? And he got into the material. Like, I don't want to blame this solely on his ego.
Yeah,
and I also don't want to, like, I don't like criticizing something by like ascribing malicious intent to it.
Exactly.
I don't think Branagh was there to be like, fuck this movie. Like, he wanted to make a good film. They all fucking do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think along the way, was he trying to make Victor look like the good guy? Because so much of every scene that he's in, I'm like, yo, fuck this guy. What a douchebag.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that is the intention or not. because you have to want to sympathize with the monster, right? It should scare you, but also be like a moving thing at the end. Where like, oh, he was abandoned by his creator, the father.
I think that is moving,
and that is
in spite of the film.
In spite of the film, exactly. And so it's not the intention of the movie, very clearly, but because of the story itself, you capture it. Credit to Kenneth
I think this
Branagh.
movie just barely pushes over the line of like gets across these interesting philosophical ideas just enough for you to be affected by them, but they could be so much more.
But no credit to him, to the director.
Not really, no.
Yeah.
And like there's moments like one moment I find particularly moving in this film is when the creature talks to the grandpa in the house, and
beautiful.
then he gets chased away by the dad, and then he's like crying in the woods. But that moment goes by so quickly, and you don't ever have a moment to be like, that's really sad, you know? And
did you know that's like meant to be a 2-month period where the monster is like living in the
spirit of the woods,
and trying to learn about this family and how to talk and how to learn to read and write. But in the movie, it makes it seem like 5 minutes, not because of a directorial choice, but because of how it's edited. It's like, oh, so he was here for like half a day and now he's angered the family?
Yeah. It's like, it's not,
what?
It's such a weirdly paced film, unfortunately. And I don't know, man. It's just, you know, if Branagh just wasn't distracted by Helena Bonham Carter's titties, it would just be a different world, you know?
Yeah. As with everything, the movie gets better once Helena Bonham Carter dies. So, good job, Shorty. Like, I
am not a fan of hers.
That's what I'm saying.
I have never really been.
This is the perfect movie for her. She gets to do the most.
I actually think she's pretty good in this film.
Yeah.
I think also her... I mean, the scenes involving her, especially at the end, are really dark.
They're so good, though.
Really intensely dark. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I wanted to talk about one more thing before we get into the plot, though. Do you have anything else you want to talk about before the plot? I told you I wanted to play a small game with you, though. And it's because I can't think of another film in a very specific genre.
Okay.
So we have the gothic horror, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about cinema only.
Okay.
Films. We have covered From Hell.
Yeah.
We have talked about how much we love Sleepy Hollow.
Yes.
Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Now, today.
Mm-hmm.
And as we just talked about Dracula.
Yeah.
There are 4 gothic horror films that involve the medical establishment in some way. What other genre, like what other films are in this genre? Tell me.
I have one.
Go.
And it's the perfect mix of Dracula and Frankenstein, and it's Van Helsing, baby.
But does that have the medical thing? Because Van Helsing's a doctor.
Yeah.
But what I mean is, okay, so From Hell has a lot of surgery.
Okay.
This movie is like From Hell on fucking meth.
Yeah.
In Dracula, Van Helsing, played by the great Anthony Hopkins, is there's, I believe, some surgery or medical stuff involved in that. Then in Sleepy Hollow, Johnny Depp is a coroner.
Right.
So
okay.
There's this weird like...
It's all from like science.
Like the 19th, 18th century
black
medical science, Victorian era kind of stuff, even though like this is before that. But
apothecary.
Yeah, like things like and I was trying to think, and now if I haven't seen Van Helsing, so I believe you. Yeah, okay.
23% Rotten Tomatoes, baby. Can't recommend it highly enough.
I believe you if it's true, but I was like trying to think, I was like, there's gotta be like a 5th movie in here somewhere. And I'm trying to fucking think of it.
Is it the TV show The Nick? It just captures it all
similar,
together.
right? Except there's no gothic horror in the Nick, even though the Nick is brilliant. But like, I don't know. I love this genre a lot.
Yeah.
And
like what, the crazy doctor?
Kinda,
not crazy,
yeah.
but yeah.
But like, I love I guess Poor Things.
Oh shit! Right.
Maybe that was the one I was thinking of, right? Except it's not very horror. Like it's kind of a comedy, so. But I guess gothic.
Barbie is a gothic horror close to its
genre. Set in modern day, so it doesn't really count.
Damn it. Also, there's no doctor, unless there's Dr. Barbie. Never mind. Back in the day.
Yeah. Right? You see what I mean, right?
Yeah. Like 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T or something. Like, kind of.
No one knows what you're talking about.
Okay, well, it's weird as hell. And but he's a doctor. making crazy things of bodies.
Dr. Dolittle starring Eddie Murphy. You can talk to the animals.
It's kind of
crazy. I just think this like weird gothic medical horror genre I think is really cool.
Yeah.
And,
definitely.
I want to find more films, and also I think more people should make movies like this. I truly, when I heard about when I've looked into the Netflix Del Toro thing, I'm like, that sounds great. Yeah. I really am excited to see that.
Me too.
Just to bring it back to that.
Ugh.
And hopefully it's like really good.
I love that you have like a favorite subgenre of like spooky doctor does
I know
misunderstood but does a cool thing, but it's
like
scary.
It's not even like it's like a subgenre of gothic horror that involves like science.
That's
quote unquote.
So good.
Yeah.
I have one that's like a subgenre of like the frozen tundra, but a creature's
you're a big fan. The Terror. Yeah.
The Terror is a fantastic TV show. Everybody should watch it. And also, what were we watching? Oh yeah, Frankenstein starts out very terror style.
Yeah, Frankenstein. Yeah,
a frozen ship. Oh my gosh, love it. Hate the water, so I like it when it's frozen over.
It's so interesting what you're saying, like all the stuff you said about Mary Shelley, because like I've never read Frankenstein, and for the longest time, like I didn't know that the novel was written in the style that it's written in.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think about it, and this is what helps this movie actually be okay instead of being a total disaster.
Mm-hmm.
The story itself is a pretty brilliant distillation of plot. Like it's just it's like a very like it's such a nice weaving of theme and symbology that it still comes across even in a poor adaptation of it. And I really like that. I think that's like
because the source material is so strong.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where like the source material is strong enough to carry a large part of the film, and I think that's really cool. Yeah. You wanted to say one more thing?
No.
No? All right, let's talk about the plot of Frankenstein. Speaking of which, let's talk about the plot of Frankenstein. This movie sucks. We got a very 90s. The opening credit thing is pretty dope with a quote from Mary Shelley herself.
Yeah.
Then the title flies at you. Flies right at you. And then we go to the ship, and the ship's getting thrashed about in the Arctic Ocean.
Yeah.
They get stuck on some ice. They're about to have a little terror themselves. The creature is out in the distance killing their dogs. And then they come across Victor Frankenstein, who's half dead, looking for
help. Get me back to the mainland.
Starts to tell his story, and I really like the opening.
Yeah, me too.
It's a very strong opening.
Yeah.
That does it just after it
quickly dilutes
after it cuts away.
Yeah.
You can zone out for about 20-25 minutes.
Easily, man. Easily.
Speaking of he grows up in Geneva, Switzerland with Bilbo Baggins. Who this is a third Bilbo.
That's right.
We have done now
From Hell Bilbo.
The goat of this podcast is a toss up between Will Smith and Ian Holm.
And Bilbo Baggins.
Wait, okay, so we've done 3 Smiths, 3 Ian Holmes.
Yeah.
How many Cages have we done? Just 1, right?
We've done both the Natty Treasures, so 2 Cages.
3. Because Lord of War.
Fuck.
So
then
Cage,
that's it.
It's a Cage Holm.
It's a 3-way tie.
It's it's
a Cage Holm Smith match.
Yeah, who would you draft first overall on that?
I would say Ian Holm would step on both these fools
real
fast.
Completely. I think Nicolas Cage, he's a 5-tool player.
He's got okay, Swiss Army man. Like I feel like Ian Holmes would have like a freakishly strong grip for a grandpa. Like when he shakes your hand, you would wish he would let go because it would hurt so much.
Yeah.
I want that for my Bilbo.
And Will Smith.
Will Smith probably could be the first to kill it, man. Sorry.
He doesn't want to hang out with anybody.
He's afraid.
Like, yeah, so he's in Geneva. They adopt Helena Bonham Carter's character. And he's like immediately in love with her, basically. And they really bring too much attention to the fact that they're kind of not siblings, but they talk about it way too much, but that's fine.
Oh my God, we are brother and sister, us.
And then his mother dies in childbirth to a much younger brother.
Yeah.
And that kind of spurs him on to go to medical school and be a doctor.
Yeah. So Victor Frankenstein has a younger brother who's probably like 8 years old or something.
when the brother, spoiler alert, is murdered later, he's like 5 or something.
Oh, he's 5?
Maybe 8. I think maybe you're
Okay,
right. Sorry.
okay.
Whatever. 8, 7, 8. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then he goes to medical school in Ingolstadt,
Mm-hmm.
and he makes friends with Tom Hulse, the actor,
Mm.
who is his buddy, and
He's so good, that actor, dude.
very good. Yeah.
Why? I don't recognize him from anything, but maybe it's only from.
I do, but I can't name something off the top of my head. But he's definitely that guy. He was also in Amadeus. That was a big thing.
Oh.
And I think I read somewhere that he beat out Kenneth Branagh for the part of Mozart in Amadeus.
Oh, thank God.
I think.
Good.
I haven't never seen Amadeus.
Okay.
So,
okay.
yeah, but there's some
He's so fucking good and like charming, and
yeah, he's very
I kind of
good.
want him to be Victor Frankenstein.
He reminds me actually a lot of speaking of Bilbo, the other Bilbo, the young Bilbo.
Martin
Freeman.
Martin Freeman.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me.
Oh
of,
yeah.
a little
He
bit.
reminds me of James McAvoy for some reason. He's got like soft features, but also that if you give him the right note, he would fucking nail that scene emotionally.
You know why? You know why he reminds me of all those people?
Are they
British.
all Irish? Okay, so not
James McAvoy's Scottish.
because they're all Indian. That's why.
McAvoy's Scottish. Isn't
McAvoy's
he?
Scottish,
So
yeah.
I'm fucking around.
Wow.
Martin Freeman, not even from Earth. No, just kidding. Like, yeah, he's the similar vibe with that kind of like just interesting UK face.
It's the theatre actor, baby. Yeah.
Like an everyman, but then in some roles you're just like, fuck, what a great casting.
Yeah.
So
That's
perfect.
a good like British face in general.
Yeah, yeah.
An everyman, but
I think there's
okay to look at.
I think like someone like Martin Freeman, who I love, a huge UK Office. It's like one of my favorite shows.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I think Martin Freeman's amazing as an actor, but I feel like there's this like subset of roles where it's like playing like a superhero or something where it's like Martin Freeman 100% no. And then it's like, well, what can he do? Literally any other role.
What?
You can cast him in anything and he would be good in it.
You mean to
basically.
tell me he wouldn't be a good leader of Wakanda if that should have been the case, even though they got him in the movie?
He was in the movie, yeah.
I know, but
he was like a journalist or
but
some shit.
he was a CIA. He
Yeah,
was an
see?
agent of
You wouldn't
Shield
agent.
One of the I feel like he'd be good.
Babe,
as
who isn't an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. at
That's
this point?
true.
Just like
on.
fucking dog and pony show over there at S.H.I.E.L.D. At SHIELD or whatever the hell you
Bye.
spell it. All right, so he goes to Ingolstadt in Austria. As I already said that. It makes friends with Tom Hulse. He also meets Monty Python for some reason.
Yo, what is my guy John Cleese
every time I watch this
doing
movie,
in this movie?
I'm always like, is that John Cleese? And then I'm like, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. Excellent makeup.
Prosthetic chin.
Yeah.
Which I could definitely tell he's got fake teeth.
Yeah,
but also prosthetic chin.
Hopefully.
Which they added because they were like, he's
too pretty.
He's too funny looking. You look at the guy, you expect a laugh.
Yeah, it's true.
It's actually smart. I think Cleese is quite good in this.
Yeah, man.
And
well, so good I didn't even recognize that it was him because he's so serious
Yeah.
and so like pulled back and just not drawing enough attention to himself. There's a lot of shadows on his face and his face is kind of mangled. His teeth are fucked.
Yeah,
Hilarious.
he looks like a guy who would do illegal experiments on humans.
Yeah,
which he does.
He sells it.
And so, yeah, that's kind of where Branagh gets interested in the dark arts of stitching people together.
Mm-hmm.
Cleese is killed by Robert De Niro's original character.
Yeah.
After
prisoner.
he goes on a real good anti-vaccines
I was gonna say,
fucking rant.
I literally have a note here and it says, you know how this movie is still valid today?
Yeah.
Robert De Niro fucking murders John Cleese when he tries to give him a vaccine.
Yeah.
What a truly timeless film.
Yeah, measles is back, everybody.
And it's because of Robert De Niro.
And, okay, so something I didn't notice. So Branagh wants to do this experiment, which he takes the books from Waldron, the Cleese character. He gets the body of De Niro, but he takes the brain of Waldron.
Mm-hmm.
I think his name's Waldron, right? Cleese's
Yeah,
character.
Waldron.
He takes his
That's
brain
right.
because he's like, this guy's real fucking smart, and if he wakes up with his brain, he'll probably be like, hey, cool, you did it.
Yeah. He's got his own memories and the memories of the body.
Well, he doesn't really, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
thought that strength was implied that.
There's this moment. So one scene I think is like it's probably one of the better scenes in the film, but is still not that fucking great, which is annoying, is when De Niro abducts him in the ice cave and talks about, like, when he's like, I learned how to read, but I just knew I could read and talk. And he's like talking about what the nature of consciousness. And he's saying, like, is this a memory?
Mm-hmm.
Is this me?
Yep.
Like, I thought that stuff is like, I'm like, man, that
Why
shit is
didn't that
great.
shit make the movie longer?
Well, I know it's unfortunate because I think that's one of the better scenes.
Yeah.
And De Niro is fucking awesome in it.
True.
And yet that's like a lot like when we talked a long time ago about like iRobot and stuff, where you're just kind of like, this movie is leaving a lot of philosophical meat on the table, and not bothering to like get into
Divvy it up.
Yeah. Anyway, so he does the experiment.
It's a success.
Yeah, that whole experiment scene is great, not just because Kenneth Branagh looks sexy with a shirt off, but also I just love the like frantic craziness of it.
The engineering, right? How he kind of puts the
set decoration and stuff is really cool. I gotta say, this is like where the movie kind of starts to become okay. It's not. Unfortunately,
now
it's
you're
not,
like, all right, now the movie started.
Yeah,
I can forget the past 30 minutes.
It's really weird. Like 1/3 of it, I think, is bad.
Yeah.
The second third of it, I think, is just fine, and then the last third of it, I think, is quite good, which is not the greatest selling point for a film.
Because then you have to sit through 2 hours to be like, okay.
Yeah, and I respectfully, I understand if people disagree with me. That's totally fine, and I get you. I hear you.
Hey, but like that's why the audience rating is about the same as the critic rating. It's very middle, very like 40% or something. Like everybody's on the same page on this one, I think.
But I wish it was better.
I know.
As I've said.
Yeah.
The experiment isn't a success because he thinks he's dead. And there's a very, speaking of the editing, a way too long comedic scene where they're slipping around in amniotic fluid or whatever.
Okay, explain this to the people who've not seen it. It's a lot like giving birth, right? Where
he's in placenta.
Yeah.
Or whatever, afterbirth, whatever.
Afterbirth, basically, right? And so when Kenneth Branagh is trying to hold Robert De Niro, the creature, in his arms, the floor is covered in
goop. It's really wet. It's really gross.
It's covered in like a cosmetic product from Gwyneth Paltrow. You can't. They're meant to show the struggle that, it's like a big creature monster. I can't hold him like a baby. I'm trying to get out of this.
It goes on way too long. Yeah.
You're just, why are there 17 cuts
there's like
in the same scene?
There's like 6 minutes of just slipping and slapping and slopping around and just this sound of like wet bodies touching each other and no dialogue. And then it's like
the visual embodiment of the word moist. I'm sorry. It's so gross.
It is. It's like a sketch comedy bit. Like seriously, it's
I wanted Tim Robinson
to
come out.
It's unfortunately too funny, and it's a problem with the editing because it's just like, please just cut this down. Oh my god,
has it ever happened to you?
So he thinks it's a disaster. The creature is not awake. And then the creature does wake and escapes.
Yeah.
And Branagh, he escapes Ingolstadt, which is under cholera, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, it's become an epidemic. So they thought they could contain this cholera outbreak. Simply can't. Now the city's quarantined. Yeah. And they have to leave before they also get trapped and die.
Yeah, and he's like, all right, I've tried reanimating a corpse. I guess I'll go back to my life, sticking it in.
I guess I'll be married.
I guess I'll try and fuck my sister.
The old ball and chain, am I right, fellas?
Yeah. Go back to horrible Switzerland. Ugh. Ew, Switz.
Boo.
Yeah.
Oxygen, who needs it? Boo.
The Alps, terrible. So the creature comes to life, and then we kind of stick with his perspective for a while. He's chased out of town by the townsfolk. He goes to the forest, and he's with the family. I like this sequence, actually, with the spirit of the woods and stuff. And he learns how to read, and he has Victor Frankenstein's journals. Mm-hmm. And then there's that really sweet scene with the grandpa and stuff. And it's like, again, this is like a point where it's good at kind of showing
the creature's humanity.
So, okay. So sometimes when I watch stuff when I'm like stoned, and I didn't do that with this film, but sometimes when I watch stuff when I'm stoned, it's like, Okay, so The Americans, for example. I watch that show a lot when I'm high, which I shouldn't do because it's kind of complicated. But every time I'm just like sitting there being like, oh man, oh it's so hard because they have to lie all the time. What's that like? Just they have to lie.
Oh my gosh.
And in this movie, the feeling I had was just like, oh, he's just ugly, but he's such a sweet soul.
you're just wishing. I wish I was stoned for this
movie.
I
had my high thoughts while I watched this, but it's like it's true. It's like
because it's quite dreamlike.
The very simple thing of being like, hey, you don't be mean to a guy just because he doesn't look very good.
Yeah,
you know?
It's. I mean, good thing they didn't have social media back then, babe. Hard time for little Frankie.
But he would have had like a filter to change his face.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. Because in the early scenes when he's trying to flee the village, some lady looks at his face and goes, "Oh, that's him. He started the cholera."
Yeah, that's true though.
She's not scared of him. She's just like, "Yo, your face mangled. You're the cause of this disease."
That's Mr. Cholera.
And then people start to like run after him, so they're not afraid of him despite his stature, like size.
They are after he kicks the shit out of like
then
4 or 5 of them.
Then he displays his strength, and it's like okay.
And then, so he talks to the blind grandpa, and he also kills the debt collector for them. But then the dad is like, there's a miscommunication, and the dad chases him away. He's crying in the woods, and then that family abandons their farm.
And that's when, like, Robert De Niro's character, like Frankenstein's monster, realizes that there's no hope of ever receiving love from humans.
Yeah. And he finds out how he came to be by reading the journal.
So now he's learned he's this abomination of like a weird creature. And I think only now, I don't know if they showed in the movie, is when he sees his own reflection. And he's also horrified at how ugly he is, that he's like, okay, now it is revenge only. I don't want to find love. I just want to go kill my dad. And now it's a Shakespearean novel.
He looks in the mirror and he's like, ugh. I mean, I kind of get it.
I get it.
I'm pretty ugly.
I get it. It's rough for me.
But he's nice inside. God, Jesus. Yeah. Get off my back about it.
Okay, Mr. Nice Guy.
So then he goes to Geneva. He just walks. He's like, Geneva is straight that way. He just walks. Yeah. He goes there and he fucking murders Victor Frankenstein's
baby brother. Yeah.
So in this movie, in very quick succession, an 8-year-old child is murdered.
Yep.
A woman is wrongfully accused and lynched.
Yeah.
And another woman gets her heart ripped out. This is where the gothic shit really starts.
Yeah.
And he has that conversation I mentioned in the ice cave. He abducts Frankenstein to be like, hey, make me a bride because nobody's going to ever love me. I don't know who I am. I need my own community. In the book, so I did read the plot synopsis of the book itself.
Oh, nice.
And he's like, oh, we'll run away to South America.
Yeah.
Which is like, damn crazy.
From Geneva?
Yeah, like once he gets his bride, he would they promise to run away to South America. In this one, he actually says he'll run away to the Arctic.
But, that's right. That's right. No one will find him.
History's weird, man. Like,
it's cool.
It's weird that in like the much the advanced, very overly civilized fucking Europe and stuff, they were like, man, South America's just the fucking middle of nowhere. Because it kind of was.
They think it's, because of the forest.
Yeah.
And you can kind of be
They just think there's like nothing there because there
Yeah.
kind of is like a lot of nothing, but also there are like developed societies and things. And sorry, but potatoes and tomatoes.
Yeah, the titular nothing now is Antarctica though. So
yeah,
still holds.
Yeah. They'd already had those by then. Little history lesson.
Good job.
Columbus Exchange.
Hey,
tomatoes.
Nice.
All sorts of potatoes.
Oh, he bought it.
You know how many types of potatoes are in like South America?
At least 2.
Fuck, a shitload. Dude.
Oh shit,
There's
more than 2.
A shitload of fucking potatoes.
Oh wow.
You think there's just like 2 or 3? There's fuck tons.
Damn. Is that also like same for yam community or?
There's big yam community.
There's going to be a long
America.
footnote to this podcast, guys.
Yeah, no, all of that stuff was brought over like in the 1500s or whatever.
Nice.
Yeah. Before in Europe, they were just eating dirt and water.
Mother,
which
can I have
is
a dirt
still
cake?
the national dish of fucking Ireland or whatever.
You could have it loose or packed.
I have some loose dirt over here, please.
You can eat it with your hands or a spoon.
Apologies to the Irish. I would never actually insult you. I think you're lovely people.
I think you're just like Indians, so
but the
I
Swiss,
get the right to stay mad.
The Swiss are pretty awful.
Man.
What
Even Mary Shelley was like, yeah, I've had enough about this Geneva situation.
She was chilling in Italy being like, you know where the worst people come from? Right over there.
Right over there.
Just over those fucking mountains. Biggest assholes.
Good God.
So he murders the kid. And then
Jesus.
Justine, the poor, sexy nurse, is blamed for it, and she's lynched. And then, so he abducts...
She's blamed for murdering the kid, and so the town's like, oh, kill her.
Geneva, am I right?
Classic.
And every time I've been there, they've tried to lynch me. Frankenstein gets abducted, and he's like, make me the bride, blah, blah, blah. And Victor Frankenstein goes back, and he's like, I got to do it, because I
created this monster, so I got to create
this,
him.
So I should help him out, but also he'll probably kill me if I don't, because he's really big.
Yeah.
And Helena Bonham Carter is like, oh, but why? And he's like, oh,
I will leave you.
Yeah, and then she kind of convinces him to not, which inadvertently spells her own doom, basically.
He does try, though. So he gets the dead nurse's body. He tries to create another female Frankenstein, Lady Frankenstein.
But he won't when he finds that it's Justine, the nurse.
Yeah.
That he doesn't want to defile her body because they're very close.
Correct.
Yeah, but the creature is like, yeah, but have you seen her?
Yeah, but I want to tap.
Have you seen her, dude? She is so hot. Come on. Yeah. And then, so they go to their little honeymoon, which is full of armed guards, but then the creature shows up. And I mean, this scene is fucking great because I'd seen this movie when I was really young. My aunt owned it, and I'd seen it before. She owned this and Dracula. So it's always stuck with me. I'd seen it a couple times, but I hadn't remembered until like a couple of years ago when I rewatched it that he just fucking rips out Helena Bonham Carter's heart.
It's so shocking.
It's really intense.
It's unexpected because the movie is very sweet and tender.
But it's what you want. It's what you want.
100%.
You know?
And that's why it has such a good impact. So when Helena Bonham Carter's like laying in bed and just kind of, the room is dark-ish, there's a net mesh over her head, and it lights up, and the monster's like laying.
He's like in the skylight.
He's like, oh, he's in the skylight. Oh,
yeah,
okay,
I think so.
So he's like looking down at her.
And then, he rips
crashes
her
through.
heart out. And then Victor Frankenstein, in his grief, brings her back to the castle to reanimate her. He cuts her head off and her hands, replaces it with Justine's body.
Because you need a heart.
Yeah, because
all
the vital organs,
all the
and
stuff.
Yeah, the logistics of it are a little glossed over.
It's
but
all good.
That's all right.
They have and like 6-second edits.
So I noticed that he takes Helena Bonham Carter's hands, presumably to like put the ring on it, but it's kind of like, all right, whatever.
They're married now.
Fine. And then he reanimates her, which is pretty fucking grotesque, to be honest. And she comes to life, and she had also been like lit on fire.
So not only does Frankenstein's monster take her heart out, he also shoves her into glass, so it cuts her face up and then sets fire to her hair.
Yeah, really gross.
Yeah,
and she's also she comes to life, and she's a little out of it, you know.
Yeah,
and then the creature appears, and he's like, "That's mine. Give her over."
Yep. But Victor's like, but it's my wife, my betrothed.
Yeah, he does he does all this effort. He puts all this effort towards
bring her back
to life, and immediately gets cucked because she's thinking about it.
Immediately got cucked by my own making.
Well, Helena Bonham Carter is immediately like, oh yeah, maybe this guy's not that bad, you know.
Foiled by his own petard.
Hoisted by his own petard.
That's the one.
And then she sees herself in the mirror and is like, this sucks, and lights herself on fire.
Yeah.
I was saying there's like a great scene where she's running down the hallway and there's just flames just shooting out of the wall at her.
Fantastic.
That stuff's crazy. It's crazy the shit that used to happen before like CGI.
That must have been a real like stunt double.
Must have been
running through. Oh my god!
And then like the cut where she falls off the stairs is a dummy. You can see that.
Yeah.
But like where she's actually running down the hall, it's like fuck. That's
wild.
A lot of fire, bro.
Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
in this like ballroom gown dress.
She's completely on fire too. The stunt double, yeah.
Incredible.
Pretty cool. And then the mansion burns down and the creature takes off for the North Pole, and Victor Frankenstein chases. And then we resume back at the boat, the Nevsky or whatever it's called. And Victor Frankenstein is like, yeah, so that sucked. And then he died.
Oh, he dies in the boat.
Yeah, he's dead.
Oh,
Yeah, because
I missed it.
he dies of like pneumonia or hypothermia.
Oh, right. Yes.
And then
yes.
the captain goes out and he's like, we're still going to the North Pole with this corpse after we burn him. And then he comes back to the cabin and finds the creature is there weeping over the corpse of his dead father.
Yeah.
And he says, why do you weep for him? He says, he's my father.
He didn't even give me a name.
I know. That is a pretty great moment.
It's pretty heartbreaking.
It's one of those that's one of those moments where you're like, I wish this movie was good.
I know.
That is like, that's
dude.
actually the, key scene.
Any scene with like a lot of prolonged quiet moments where the camera zooms in on De Niro's face and he gets to have a bit of a monologue.
Yeah.
That should be the tone of the rest of the film.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's sadly not.
Yeah, the Darabont and Lady, they said the subtlety was often excised from the final film.
Yeah.
And like what's so admirable about the work is the subtlety and the thoughtfulness of it.
Yeah.
And that stuff is cut away. Cut to the bone.
Shit.
And then they go to burn him and there's kind of an unnecessary tension with the ice breaking up and stuff, and then the creature burns himself and Victor Frankenstein then floats away on the ice, which is like really cool.
Very cool.
And I have to say, another big problem with this film is the score. It's like too orchestral and over the top, and it would be so much well serviced with a more understated
down to
yeah. But I do really like that ending image. I think it's really cool.
Fuck, man.
Frankenstein. One of the first.
I'm so stoked for the new Frankensteins.
I am now that
out.
We've talked about it like a lot,
and kind of knowing.
I want to read the. I should read the book.
You know
and
what?
I want to read.
it.
I want to read the screenplay too.
Let's read it. Let's do
I
it.
want to read that Darabont screenplay because that'd be really
just
cool.
knowing about the Mary Shelley's like intention behind some of these plot points and how she's even thought of this and writing it. Oof.
Yeah, dude.
Rough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy shit. 10 out of 10 book. Not 10 out of 10 movie.
Nah. Yeah, but 10 out of 10 Kenneth Branagh abs though.
10 out of 10 abs.
God.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
0 out of 10 hair. Like, ugh.
What's the deal? It's the cholera times. Okay, they don't have time for conditioner.
I like Branagh's thing now, where he's like, I'll be in any Christopher Nolan movie as long as he lets me do whatever.
Yeah.
And Christopher Nolan's like, right away, Mr. Branagh.
All right, you got it. You got it.
Yeah.
What other movie did Kenneth Branagh direct?
He did a couple Shakespeare's. Those were like his big ones. I think he directed a version of Hamlet and Midsummer Night's Dream. And I know there is a filmed version of Othello out there where he plays Iago.
Oh,
and
okay.
Lawrence Fishburne plays Othello, which we watched in class when I was in like high school.
Oh, damn.
And I remember quite liking. And then he also recently he did all of the Murders on the Orient Express movies, Death on the Nile, Murder on the Orient, and a Death in Venice or whatever, a Haunting in Venice.
Oh yeah, Haunting in Venice.
Is that the same? Okay, he did a Haunting in Venice, but is that the same as the Death on the Nile and the blah blah blah?
It sounds like they're all the same film with like
and then
Death on the Nile by A Haunting in Venice.
Yeah.
Of this fame.
And then he did Belfast recently.
Yeah.
And
that's him. Okay,
Thor.
right.
Remember?
Fucking Thor. He directed Thor.
Yeah.
That does not compute.
Isn't Thor good though?
Thor's really good.
Yeah.
Okay, what?
And I've heard Belfast is really good, and I've never seen it.
So he did all three. Murder on the Orient Express 2017, Death on the Nile 22, Haunting in Venice 23.
But are they of the same series is what I'm asking. Is A Haunting in Venice the same series as Death on the Nile?
I think it looks like it from the posters too, yeah. It's like the same style.
Okay, all right.
Shit's on fire. Train's on fire. Ship's on fire.
Venice be haunted.
Venice is on fire.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I have nothing against the guy. This is probably one of his worst movies.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Wow. Kenny B?
Yeah, this is the first time you saw it, though, right?
This is the first time.
Do you see what I mean about it when I say like the potential was there, but it's it's kind of perfect for our pod.
I'm so glad I watched it.
Yeah,
I'm so happy I saw it. I might even watch it again. So it'll be like nice to throw it on because it's pretty cool. Like it's kind of intense in some ways, and then it's like nice to fall asleep to in other ways.
Yeah.
pretty atmospheric in some parts. And then, you know, you get some education about cholera.
It's the second best ripping out a heart scene after Dumb and Dumber. So
probably want a cracker.
All right, we Gucci?
We Gucci.
All right, enjoy it. I do urge people and warn people.
Yeah.
I think this is like an interesting objet des arts piece of work.
Oh,
but
dude.
I understand if you watch it and you're like, that fucking blue chunks.
Good God. Watch it with friends. It's a better experience.
Yeah, so watch it stoned so you can be like, oh my God.
Oh my God, why aren't they?
The beauty's on the inside.
He must be lying the whole time.
I can't believe they're so cruel to me. Oh. Anyway, thank you for listening.
Bye.